Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Welcome back, everybody. Your Tuesday morning coffee get-together continues. Episode number 477 of the RP Show continues with a very special guest, the ageless, the peerless, Don Taylor. Fans from coast to coast joining us from the West Coast today from the Donnie and Dolly Show. Good morning, DT. How you doing, my man?
Appreciate that. Very well, very well. Thanks for calling me ageless. I appreciate that. And also I have to say that thanks to you guys for using a promo shot of me on your Twitter page that must have been from about 25 years ago. I really appreciate that.
That was me. And that looked like a college photo or something of the like. But Don, here's the thing, though. As I felt bad for you. Not like I haven't gone through the same thing, but I Googled Don Taylor, Vancouver. Here's what comes up. Don Taylor let go by Vancouver TV. Don Taylor let go by TSN 1040 Radio. So, hey, it's all led you here, man, with Donnie and Dolly.
Yes, I'm working on my third buyout now. I've had two of them. I don't know anybody in our business who hasn't had at least one. One friend of mine has had four. So that basically sums up the state of our industry right now. It's not great, but it sure is fun.
Yeah, but when they're a talented guy like you and a good person, it always works out. And that's where you are now. And before we talk about this next incarnation of your life, which you said you'll be on the air here shortly out on Check TV, it is CFL Draft Day. I know you're a massive Lions fan. We've been watching you for years. I know you love the CFL. Does it rate on the needle of British Columbia? The Lions had the number one overall pick last year. Where is it on the radar of your viewers and fans?
I would say that the rankings go like this. Canucks, far and away the most popular, maybe not lately, but they're still the most popular, most talked about franchise in the province. It's not even close. I would say number two for me, and this has happened over the last, Rod, 10, 20 years, is the NFL. And a lot of that has to do with the success of the Seahawks. They market up here in Vancouver, so there's that. And the CFL has dropped to somewhere below that. I think ahead of the Canadians and the Warriors and other franchises, but still nowhere near where it used to be. It's sad because when I first got into this industry, I moved up to Dawson Creek, and then I worked at Red Deer. And I came back. I'm a Vancouver guy, raised in North Burnaby, for people who know Vancouver. So I come back in 1984 after 5 years up north trying to start my career. Rod, the Lions were way bigger than the Canucks at the time. You remember the 80s and what a great time that was for the CFL. It was just outstanding. And, then I remember they lost the Montreal franchise. That was bad. And things started to go awry for the CFL after packing the place, BC Place, for a significant amount of time. And the 90s were tough, even with Flutie and the Rocket and all of that in the league anyway. The 2000s were really good as well with Mr. Braley taking care of things, and Casey Printers and Dave Dickinson and Wally, certainly. It was tremendous. I almost think in those two periods, in the 80s and the 2000s, the Lions got a little cocky. Their ticket prices were now, I'm going on here and I apologize for that.
No. You're good.
Their ticket prices went up. I don't think they realized that to some extent they were a trend. It was a really interesting period, both those periods, the 80s and the 2000s. And I don't think they read the market well. And that's part of the problem. But they're definitely, right now, that's part of it. That they're definitely down the list. And a lot of it has to do with not reading the market well, but also when it comes to football, the popularity of the Seahawks and the NFL in this market is second, I think, only to the Canucks, as I said before.
But Don, I think the viewers here are all enjoying it. You're the guest. You go on as long as you want. Plus, I think you like talking about the CFL because you don't really get to. Right, you don't really get to on your other shows because the appetite isn't necessarily there. But I do remember sitting in the press box at BC Place, and I won't say with whom, a Lions staffer, and I said, are the Seahawks becoming competition? This is like 10, 15 years ago. And he's like, I never really thought about it. I said, you might want to think about it. Like, when did the Seahawks start moving in? Because this isn't a 30-year thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks have been around for a significant amount of time, but no, I would say when Marshawn Lynch came up with this big run against the New Orleans Saints in the playoffs, and that coincided with the Seahawks coming up with great uniforms. After that, getting Russell Wilson. Doing a great job of marketing in the Vancouver area. And I believe now they have somewhere in the neighborhood of, when they had fans, 9,000 to 10,000 people from Vancouver that are season ticket holders down in Seattle. That they really did an impressive job, and getting that fairly new stadium as well. It's a great experience. There's a whole lot of factors there. It's not that far away. It's 2 hours away. Not even that for some people who have a lead foot. So there are a lot of factors involved. But the Seahawks just, can I use this word as somebody who's 61? They were just cooler than the Lions. And the NFL is just such a machine, and people here really got into that. It's too bad. I still think and I think there will be still a great place for an important place for the CFL in this market. Maybe we'll have one of those periods again, like we did in the 80s and the 2000s, where the Lions became an hit franchise in the city. And I hope they learn from the past and build on that, as opposed to just open the doors.
Well, the fact is, you're just sitting spewing facts. If people don't like to hear it, it's the truth. But you mentioned printers. That Empire Stadium out on the East Van was rocking. 30,000, They just threw it up in a month, and it was great. And when I talked to Wally, the last time I talked to him, he had mentioned the possibility of a outdoor new stadium in your hometown of Burnaby. I don't know if that's still on the burner or not, but Don, is it gone too far? Could the Lions become cool again, or do they have to kind of just, it is what it is situation? Can they be reborn?
I think what you said there is the key, is to get a stadium in the burbs where I know the majority of Lions fans are, open air where you've got a view of the mountains, which you don't do at BC Place. I think because look, in the 90s, when Nelson Scalabrini owned the team, I thought, going to games, looking around at BC Place, I thought, you know what, this is the last season, whatever year it was. Like 96 was particularly bad when they brought in Andre Ware, and it was just awful. I remember thinking, this is the end of the Lions. And then along came David Braley and Wally Buono, and they got really, really popular again. So if they could somehow do that again, if there was a new stadium, but I doubt if that's going to happen, I could see there being another period where they become hot, where they become cool. And again, hopefully they've learned from what they've done in the past. The problem, Rod, is that not that long ago, in 2011, it was 2011, the taxpayers of British Columbia bucked up $500 million to renovate BC Place. So I don't know how well that would go over. It would have to be private money for them to get a new stadium. And then here's the other problem: is David Braley has passed away. The Braley family is now in charge of the Lions, and word is that his offspring are not as into the CFL as David who is. And that's an issue that they have to deal with, probably first and foremost.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, and I thought it was Wally that told me, but maybe it was your good buddy Julio who said that the Aquilinis would like to buy the Lions, implode BC Place. It'd be all their money, and put the stadium out of downtown, and build condos and stuff. And Bob's your uncle. You know what I mean? It would be perfect. So we'll see. This is going by far too fast. A viewer question, Don. They remember you from Dawson Creek. I just want to ask you, because you're a DJ there, they say, what was the music format?
It was, you work in small towns, I take it, Rod.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna all the great broadcasters have. Kids today, they don't know what it's like to pay their dues. I'm sure you've had that for some young people. Yes, Dawson Creek, CJDC. The music format was pretty much scrambled eggs. And by that, I mean anything and everything. I can remember playing things like West Montgomery, and then following it up with Nick Lowe and Cruel to Be Kind. This was like in late 70s, early 80s when New Wave was coming in. You could basically do what you want, but the owner at the station wanted a certain amount of adult contemporary. And that's where the West Montgomerys, Dean Martins came in. So it was a little bit of everything. I wanted to play rock and roll, New Wave and stuff like that. So I managed to slip that in. It was all over the place.
Of course you did. I love the smile on your face when you said that. And I'm having flashbacks, too. That was Long May You Run by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. And now we have Ian and Sylvia Tyson. That was the station I was...
It's so true. But you're right. But it was, and you're making $400 a month, and you're just thinking you're on top of the world doing the midnight shift in Dawson Creek, and I loved it. And like you say, I can't help it. I thought it was great. In fact, it was hard for me to leave. I really. I spent 3 years up there. I loved it. I went to Red Deer after that. Also loved that. And it wasn't as much as people might think that Vancouverites are snobby and they're just only in love with their city. I had a hard time moving back. I really liked it up north. So different from Vancouver.
I didn't have a tough time leaving because it was the first time I was fired. And as they say, every time after that, it gets a little easier. Don, I don't want to go into the negativity of the Canucks being in seventh. So let me ask you about this. Anytime that I've been in Vancouver, they've been talking about the Kraken and the natural rivalry between the Canucks and Seattle. So how much are you, because they've, I think, scrapped this year. How much are they starting to look ahead?
Well, I don't know if they can look ahead until there's some sort of change. There has to be a change personnel-wise or in the front office. And I think that's when people can look ahead. In terms of the Canuck organization, there's really an appetite for change right now. But as far as the Kraken goes, the Canucks, and we like to think of, and it is, I mean, Vancouver's a world-class city. But the one thing it doesn't have, and when you travel back east, you really notice this, is neighbors that are close. And when you go to New York, when you go to Philadelphia or Montreal, I mean, you can drive to road games. And it's just so great. And Vancouverites, let's be honest here, we're isolated here. We do think we have the greatest city in the world. We brag about it, all of that. But it is isolated. And just the thought of being able to go into your car, hop into your car, travel an hour and a half, 2 hours down the road, and see the Canucks play on the road, it's really, really exciting. I think people can't wait. But it might be pretty hard getting a ticket if and when they open up the doors to the arena there. But it's going to be exciting.
Well, but having said that, I have heard Canucks fans say, if the Kraken win a Stanley Cup before the Canucks do, I'm done. I'm out. You must hear that.
Oh my God. You know what, Rod? Not just fans, but myself. I've been around following this team since before 1970 when they entered the NHL, when they were a minor league team, the Western Hockey League, when Don Cherry was one of their defensemen, believe it or not. I was just a kid watching those games. They also had Dick Cherry, Don's brother, one of the great names of all time in sports. And the first thing I thought of was that when the Kraken became real, that they're going to win the Stanley Cup. I'm going to live to see them win the Stanley Cup before the Canucks. That was my fear, because I know the Canucks history. It's been really tough for people in this town, including myself. And because I'm a fan, I grew up a fan. And that was the first thing that hit me, that the Kraken, who seemed to be making just a million great moves before they even hit the ice, uniforms, who they hired, all of that, waiting for a coach, all of that, just really smart. It just seems that they're on the right path, and it wouldn't surprise me for 1 second if they won a Stanley Cup before the Canucks did. That's just the way things go in Vancouver.
I know, but I don't think they're going to follow the Golden Knights path. That's going to be tough to beat. Clark, how long did you say we had? Oh, we have a minute and a half. Would you mind telling me about Donnie and Dolly with my good buddy, you and him, Rick Dollywell over on Check TV? How's that going, Don? Tell our viewers what's up with that.
Well, we got a 2-hour show on Check. It goes from 10 a.m. till noon on Check TV, which is 2:15 on Shaw, 120 on TELUS. and in Vancouver anyway, as I promote the show. But it's just Rick and I basically doing a radio show on TV, but we do highlights and bring up all the issues that are surrounding the Vancouver sports scene. And for people who don't know Rick, this is the way it goes. I'm the guy who basically does the ins and outs of the broadcast, the so-called bus driver, as I use some broadcasting term of the broadcast. And then I throw issues at Rick. And the thing is with Rick, he gets scoops. You know this, Rod. He gets scoops that nobody else gets from NHL general managers, CFL, NFL, anybody. And the thing is with Rick, when he's paying attention, he's really, really good. And when he's not paying attention, he's better. It's a real weird combination. So he's always on his phone texting and stuff like that. So we bring up the issues of the day on the BC sports scene, do some highlights, have a whole lot of fun, go off into the entertainment realm, all sorts of stuff like that. And so far, it's going really, really well.
Good. I like to hear that. So, Don, listen, it's been a pleasure. You're universally loved. That's hard to get in this business. Trust me, I know, by everybody. So, thanks for this. Continued blessings, and stay safe out there, my friend.
Rod, thank you so much, and I just love the job you guys are doing on that show. I love your set. I love all the paraphernalia there. I'm jealous. We've got to get there, but just outstanding. Thanks so much.
Keep in touch, Don. Thank you.
Right.
The great Don Taylor joining us from the Donnie and Dolly Show, Check TV, based out in Victoria, but of course airing all across the beautiful province of British Columbia. We'll be right back with a sports update. We'll talk a little more CFL draft here on draft day, and Moose DuPont will join us in the bunker next. You're watching the RP Show on Game Plus Television across all 10 provinces and 31 states. Live daily on YouTube and Facebook, and 24-hour sports talk for Suds Full Service Car Wash at rodpedersen.com.